in a matter of moments, we are going to be joined in studio by two great wrestlers in their own right. The very first UFC heavyweight champion, the great Mark Coleman, who had an illustrious MMA career, is a two-time UFC Hall of Famer and a Pride Grand Prix tournament winner, two-time UFC tournament champion as well. A very good friend of his and business partner of his, Mike DiSabato, will also be joining us. And they, of course, were good friends and met while competing at The Ohio State University. Coleman was at Miami University of Ohio, and then transferred for his senior year in 1988 and actually in 87, and then won the NCAA championship in 1988. DiSabato was at Ohio State from 87 to 91 and had a great run there as well. In 2018, though, DiSabato was the first former Ohio State athlete to blow the whistle, so to speak, regarding some horrific things that he and hundreds of other OSU athletes were forced to endure while members of the university's athletic department. This came on the heels of the Michigan State Larry Nassar story, which obviously dominated the headlines and caused a ripple effect through that program and other programs as well. And so there's a new documentary that is coming out on June 17th called Surviving Ohio State. It comes out on HBO and HBO Max. And like I said, it comes out on June 17th. Today at 5:30, it will be premiering at the Tribeca Film Festival. George Clooney, by the way, is among the producers of the documentary, and it speaks of this horrific story. John Wertheim, who's a great sports reporter who works as a correspondent for 60 Minutes, wrote a very lengthy feature in 2000 on this story, on Mark Coleman, on Mike DiSabato, and the hundreds of others who were victims of a doctor named Richard Strauss, who eventually took his own life in 2005. It is a story that is still ongoing, a story that still hasn't reached any proper resolution, if there is even a proper resolution to be had. But because they are here in New York to attend the premiere, we wanted to have them in studio to talk about this story. Of course, Mark Coleman, a central figure in the Smashing Machine film that will be coming out later this year. The great Ryan Bader played him in that film, and we talked to Ryan about it, and we just very recently saw Mark at the Ryzen show along with Yuri Prochaska at the opening ceremonies with the drums. It was a great scene. There's Yuri doing his thing, and in a matter of seconds, there's Mark Coleman, legend. We'll talk to him about that. Without further ado, let us say hello now to the great Mark Coleman, the legend, the Hall of Famer, and his good friend, Mike DiSabato. Hello, Mark.
What's up, Ariel?
It's good to see you, my friend.
Yeah, you too. How you, buddy?
Everything good?
Yeah, everything's real good.
Mr. DiSabato,
Mr. Ariel.
my good friend.
Good to
How are
see
you?
you. Good to see
Thank
you.
you so much for
Always.
coming. I really
Thank you.
appreciate it. Thank you guys for coming. I know it's a really, it's a big day for the two of you with the premiere coming up later on today. Tribeca Film Festival, that's a big deal. The film Surviving Ohio State. I really appreciate you guys coming on. By the way, can I just say you looked fantastic at the Ryzen show.
Oh, thank
We just
you.
showed
That
the
was
footage
awesome,
of you.
Man. I lost 30 pounds in 3 weeks.
Come closer to the microphone.
I lost 30 pounds for 3 weeks. I wanted to look good that night. 25 years after the Grand Prix, I weighed in 224.
Look at you over there. Look at that bod right there.
Yeah, it's coming.
The hammer.
It's coming. I just started lifting heavy again. So
Really?
we're gonna
So how
see
are you
some
feeling?
results.
How's
Great.
your health?
I'm as healthy as it gets, bro. Getting
Wow.
better every day.
Amazing. Well, that was great. I love that they had you out there.
Yeah.
It was so nice, and you looked amazing. 25 pounds in 3 weeks.
30 pounds.
30
I was
pounds.
224. That's what I weighed. I wanted to get down to 228. That's what I weighed in the Pride Grand Prix, so I wanted to get down to that. But I got down to 224, which was my last fight with Shogun Hua. So
Incredible. Well done. All right, so I set the table a little
Put it
bit.
all back on.
Hey, listen, it doesn't matter. That's immortal right there.
I wanted to
Yeah.
put it on.
This guy looks great.
He looks amazing, and I'm
A couple
happy to
years
hear.
ago, he wasn't looking so good.
Sure,
so
sure.
Where he's come from, it's
And with the sobriety, everything's still where was
It's cool, brother.
I love it. I love it.
Forever
And
for
family
life.
okay?
Family's doing good. Everybody's doing good.
Okay.
Life is great.
Amazing. So I set the table on the film that is coming out June 17th, HBO Max, Surviving Ohio State, and you guys are central figures, and you, dare I say, whistleblower, right? That is the word.
Both of us. bro.
both.
The both of
actually,
you,
yeah.
okay.
I was the whistleblower. as
Okay.
well.
All right.
Proud of it.
Where do we begin? You transfer to Ohio State in 87. You win the national championship in 88, correct?
86, I transferred. I had a redshirt year.
Okay. But you win the national championship in 88. And you were there 87 to 91.
Actually, Mark and I came in the same year.
Okay.
I was a true
86,
freshman.
87.
I was a true freshman. He was a transfer from Miami, high-profile transfer. So, yeah, we've been together since '86.
Mark, when did you first meet Dr. Richard Strauss?
86, the first day of practical, the physicals, of course. And like I said, it was a joke going around, and people were saying stuff to me, have fun in there, and yeah, it was a eye opener.
What do you mean by have fun in there?
I didn't understand it either, but I kind of knew. Doc Strauss was very hands on, let's say.
Okay.
So he liked to.
It was a joke within our community, within the locker room, that Strauss was. He performed unnecessary genital exams on all of us all the time. And at the time, this is 1986, Ariel, we didn't know what we know now to be grooming and sexual abuse. And we just thought it was some dude that was not right and enjoyed something that was not cool. And but he was the doctor. And he was the guy that cleared us to wrestle. If you had injuries, you had to go to him. And very much like Larry Nassar, he was. He was a friend. I mean, it's a complicated thing to when you look back at it. He earned our trust. And again, when you got that varsity, you got that Ohio State logo on the side of your chest, and you're a medical doctor. Well, we were taught to follow the rules and do what they say you're going to do. So,
Look, man, you needed this guy to compete. This guy's got to sign you off. It's that simple for me. I wanted to be a national champion. I wasn't going to cause problems.
And you had a great career up until that point. Like you said, you had transferred from Miami of Ohio. Had you ever experienced anything like the type of stuff that he was doing in your athletic career up until that point?
Well, no, absolutely not. I mean, it was new to me.
And so when you guys go in there for the first time, when you leave, do you tell your teammates like, "Yo, what was that?" Or is everyone just very quiet about it?
there was a lot of that. What is that? And frankly,
We turned it into we kind of joked it off, just made a joke. You got to go in there and step out of your shorts for a physical.
Right.
And he always said it was a hernia. It was that he was being thorough. He always had a reason that he wanted to see your genitals.
Right.
And again, it wasn't new for me because Strauss was very key figure in the wrestling community in Ohio. Several of my brothers wrestled before me. Two brothers in the early '80s, so I kind of knew the rumors about Strauss. And again, at that time, Ariel, it was there was no sex abuse or sexual predator. We didn't know. We just knew that this dude was strange, and that was part of his routine. And
You first met him when you were 14, right?
14.
Wow.
14, I was, let me take a deep breath. It's
Sure, I understand.
It's first of all, I appreciate you taking the time today.
Of
This
course.
is I know Mark, and it's not something that you enjoy talking about, but it's important, Ariel. It's in order to make progress. My wife said this to me last night. In order to make progress, you got to be truthful to what's happened in the past. And we were the first, Mark and I just to play a little history, we're sitting around in December of 2017, and he's reading the newspaper, back when newspapers were still around, and he's talking about Larry Nassar to me because his daughter was in the gymnastic, she was a gymnast, and so he's reading the details, and it just hit me. I hadn't followed the Nassar case. I knew about it, but I didn't know the details. And when he went into the details of what Nassar was doing, very similar, unnecessary genital exams, it just hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, that's us, Mark. And so we spent the next couple months kind of speaking to the guys in the community, in our circle, and just I knew everyone went through the same thing, but it was one of those things where you just went to the guys and said, this happened, right? And sure enough, it did. And so March of 2018, I sat in a meeting with Ohio State officials and told them, here's what's up. And it's been 7 years now since then. The university's still in court actively with almost 250 victims, survivors, and this documentary is going to tell a very powerful story. And this guy, he's just amazing. To step forward and have this kind of conversation, he's done a lot of great things in his life, but I take my hat off to this.
Because one could say, of all the victims, you are the most high profile, right?
I suppose. I mean, what does that matter, really?
No, it matters because you've had an illustrious Hall of Fame, very celebrated career. I can't imagine, you've done a million interviews. A lot of these people are not known to the world. So for you to have the megaphone to speak out, it goes a little further given your great career.
Well, that's what it's all about. You got to sometimes get uncomfortable to become comfortable. And, Mike said, let's we make a video, me, Mike, and Russ Hellickson, the head coach at Ohio State. And I was very nervous that day. And I remember telling Russ that I'm pretty nervous. I don't know if I should do this. And he just looked at me and said, well, just tell the truth and everything will be okay. Mm-hmm. And, something happened from there. Russ, when that video came out, and it exploded. Tell him what happened.
This is back 2018, Ariel. I had
me, him, and Russ talking about not in detail about what happened. Yeah, it took a lot of courage, man, but I just did it.
I had I came forward in March of 2017, or 2018, I should say. In June of 2018, I went to Mark and said, "Listen, let's memorialize this. Let's do some video." Hired the production folks and just sat down, myself, Mark, our head coach Russ Hellickson, and another survivor, a nursing student. And this wasn't just student athletes. This guy did it to everyone. First of all, he's the Ohio State University Ariel. We're talking 20 years at the university. Every day, this guy's seeing someone. So do the numbers. We're talking thousands.
Every sport, too, not just wrestling.
Right.
Yeah, so you're talking, this is it's an epidemic. It was an epidemic. It still is an epidemic. It's sexual assault.
Since our lawsuit came out, what I'm really proud of is there's been 10 of them since. That shows you how big this is, and there's probably another 10 behind it. It's across the country, across the world, this is going on daily, regular.
And when you say 10, you mean different schools?
Well, different universities.
Yeah,
I'll give you some data. When we came out in 2018, it was March of 2018. In July of 2018, two wrestlers at Michigan stepped forward, and their case was 30-year doctor who was right under Bo Schembechler, 30 years of doing unnecessary genital and prostate rectal exams on 18-year-old kids. Rectal exams. Mm-hmm. Michigan settled their lawsuit in 2023. I think it just got finalized, but it was over 1,000 guys. Wow. And Ariel, think about Michigan athletics, and I've got several friends up there, and one of the whistleblowers up there is a guy named John Vaughn, who was running back at the time and sat out front. He protested a couple years back in front of the president's office or president's residence at Michigan, sat out in a tent for 100 days to bring Michigan to the table and help to to put it to bed. But when you think about Michigan athletics, do the names. Every one of them saw this guy. 30 years. Strauss, in our case, he saw 15 sports. His focus was primarily non-revenue. 15 Olympic sports was where he was, but we're talking Olympians, Olympic champions, MMA superstars, football. I mean, Hall of Famers. We're talking
Vast
big
majority
names.
male?
Yes. Yes.
All male.
All male.
Yeah. Ariel, we were the first case of, and I'm proud of this. We're the first case of male athlete, elite male athlete, sexual abuse scandal. Obviously, you got the Catholic Church.
Right.
You've got the Boy Scouts, Michigan State, and I go back to this. Those women, those young ladies, I call them superheroes. I mean, 5'7", 5'2" superheroes for what they came for, what they, standing up to this monster, and that was what triggered us. Hallie Reisman in particular, I remember seeing her, and I'm like, God bless this young woman, and so that was an area when you listen to their testimony, it was identical to the testimony we gave, the same way he did that Nasser abused kids at Michigan State and USA Gymnastic. It was the exact same of Dr. Strauss. It's the exact same at the University of Michigan. It's the exact same at Indiana University under Bobby Knight, which is actually more recent here, a doctor named Bamba, who recently passed away. There's, Ariel,
10 universities, and there'll be a lot more.
So the Michigan State was a very high-profile one?
It was near Larry Nasser. I was paying attention to that because my daughter was a big-time gymnast, so I followed gymnastics quite a bit, and then his story, I was following in detail, just called him up and was explaining to him what happened just to talk to him, and he put it together. It just clicked because it didn't click that it happened to me, really.
Why does it feel like this one doesn't get a fraction of the attention that the Michigan State story got?
Ohio State.
What does that mean? It was a big school, right?
Well, it's male.
Is that it?
Well, I mean, if you talk to the guys that are in this case, John Wertheim did a beautiful piece for Sports Illustrated in 2020, and John, that was John's opinion. Is if it's hard for people to talk about male-on-male sexual abuse, especially male-on-male elite male athlete sexual abuse, and so. So being here, it's important to have this kind of conversation to say, this shit happens. I bring out some names. Ray Leonard, I'd look to him at one point. I know he was sexually abused by his Olympic coach when he was a kid. I think Mike Tyson. I know Kayla Harrison just spoke, eloquently about her situation. In our case, again, it's male on male, and it's difficult for, especially elite male athletes. Oh, you were. Why didn't you just beat this dude up? Why didn't you just smack him? Well, that's not really the way it goes down. Again, I just got a lot of. We've done a lot of stuff together, but this is, in my opinion, by far the most important conversation that I'm going to be a part of.
These doctors, they're buddies. It's a unit. They talk to each other cross country. You go to their school and they'll trade you out a couple guys. I mean, I don't know how to explain that, but they'll show you their guys and trade back. They work together.
Well, Anderson at Michigan and Strauss. I'm wearing this button. Ariel is one of the. It was at Michigan. John Vaughn was their champion, and "Hail to the Victors" is their fight song. And so, hail to the victims, and I wear this proudly. I grew up in Columbus, Ohio State, Michigan, the 10-year war, Woody Hayes and Bo Schembechler. And it's pretty poignant that here we are talking about sexual abuse and the two most powerful brands in college athletics, and the biggest rivalry in college athletics are at the top of the list when it comes to failing their student athletes. And it was tragic. 20 years at Ohio State University, 30 years at the University of Michigan.
When you guys were experiencing this, and you knew other athletes that were experiencing it as well, did anyone threaten to
there
out
was,
him?
Did
it ever get close?
Again, it was just part of the. It was part of.
It wasn't just the facility that we trained in was called Larkins Hall. It was open to the public. Our locker rooms were open to the public, and it wasn't just the whole facility was filled every day with what do you call them?
Predators.
Predators.
Really?
This is a whole separate.
Same ones. It's the same one, but so they waiting in the showers, waiting in the sauna for the wrestlers were their favorite. They'd come down and there would all be, and quite honestly, it intimidated the wrestlers. They would go in and take their shower real quick and get out. But
This is a whole
separate. Yeah, it's whole separate.
This is a whole separate part of the conversation.
But anyways, gay bashing was big at the time. You had to be real careful. We were warned about that. So, I wasn't afraid, obviously, like some other people, and I would voice my opinion straight to them, tell them to take their fucking shower and get the hell out of here,
Wow.
So our locker room at Ohio State was, and this was true with most intercollegiate athletic departments. Our locker room was in Larkins Hall, which was a recreation center, where the general student population and administrators are all together. So after practice, we're taking showers with professors and administrators. We're in saunas with professors and administrators. And just think about it, Ariel. I mean, you've got elite male athletes, gymnasts, wrestlers, swimmers, and here we're going into a shower after a workout, and you've got folks that are there because they get to take a shower with elite male athletes.
Doc Strauss was there every day,
and Strauss,
and a lot of times he'd take 2 or 3 showers a day. You'd catch him; he'd be walking out of the shower, walking back to the sauna, or walk back to the locker room, and maybe one of his favorite was heading into the shower. He would do a 360, 180, and head right back into the.
Ariel, this guy ran around right under, with the blessing of the university. He had a locker in our locker room. He had a locker in the gymnast locker room. He had a locker in the swimmer's locker room. So he spent his day going from one locker room to the next locker room, servicing student athletes, and has complete access. Here's a guy he's probably 5'5", 120 pounds soaking wet. Very nice man, right? Very highly educated, Harvard, University of Pennsylvania. He's one of the foremost experts on steroids in the United States at the time. He was right in the middle of the Ben Johnson, Carl Lewis stuff in 1988. And this guy was esteemed. I mean, we're not talking about, we're talking about a very high-profile sports doctor. And so here...
We found out that athletes were sending letters into the athletic directors and stuff. They found these letters, and basically they were called liars. This didn't happen. You're making it up. So So go back to Larkins. So we're basically operating and working. Our training facility was a bathhouse. I mean, long and short of it, you're going in. And you've got students and administrators that aren't athletes that are allowed to take showers, saunas with the wrestlers, with the gymnasts, with the swimmers on a daily basis. It was a very hostile environment. And like Mark said, we were told at the time, don't put your hands on anyone. This is open to the public, and you guys deal with it. And there were several complaints made. Not just about Larkins, but several complaints made about Strauss and his behavior,
And the university at the time just did not handle it appropriately. One of the old athletic directors, Andy Geiger, is quoted in the Washington Post. David Marinus did a beautiful story on the story in, I think it was 2022 or 2023, and he interviewed Andy Geiger. And Andy, there's a lot of people who haven't told the truth, who haven't said, "Oh, this happened," that were there when it happened. High-profile folks, which I'm sure you're aware of. And Andy had said at the time, "Listen, we knew things were not right, but we didn't know about sexual abuse at that time, and we just mishandled it," which they did. And so when we came forward in 2018, we had expected and hoped that there would not be the kind of pushback. Everyone,
the school.
Everyone knew, Ariel. Everyone. When I say everyone, there was 22 coaches. There was a. Let me take a deep breath. There was a study, not a study, a report. So we come forward in March of 2017. In April, the university commissioned a study done by Perkins Coie, big law firm, and they did a $6 million report. Had folks calling in, guys calling in, and there was 177 victims who called in and said, "Me too, this happened to me." 22 coaches confirmed that they knew. Several administrators admitted they knew. And when I say they knew that he was doing unnecessary genital exams. They knew he was taking unnecessary showers. I mean, this guy wasn't working out, but he would take a shower with us every day, sometimes two.
Wow.
One day I saw him, I'm in the locker room. We had just completed, taken a shower. Strauss had taken a shower. I saw him over there getting ready for his, go on with his day. He saw another guy walk in that was one of his favorites, started taking his clothes off, and he went back in the shower for a second shower on the same day. And this is, our coaches, Russ Helix and Jim Jordan, Doc Strauss, it was...
Jim Jordan, the congressman.
Yes, sir.
Did he know?
Yes, sir.
He has denied any knowledge. And you had mentioned this, but then, correct me if I'm wrong, you sort of walked it back when he pushed back. You had mentioned that Jim Jordan knew, and he vehemently pushed back without knowing, saying that he didn't know anything, and then I think that you said, "All right," but now you were saying unequivocally that he did know.
I was drinking back then. This was 7 years ago. I was close to rock bottom, so I wasn't in my mouth.
Did he try to pressure you?
I'm glad it did open up.
Yeah.
But probably would have been wise not to, but then none of this would have happened. But yeah, I flat out, I said Jim Jordan's either got dementia or he's a liar. Because,
that was the Wall Street Journal. It was a very high-profile comment.
But we took abuse from a lot of people because once Jim Jordan's name came in play, the whole case changed because now Russ Helixson, who sat down and we all three told our stories on camera and showed it, and it came out, and then they went up to Jim Jordan and asked him about it. He denied any knowledge of any of that, and when that happened, Russ Helixson decided he's going to be a coward, and he took back everything he said on video, said he was pressured into saying it. Well, who the hell pressured you into saying it? And that same day, he looked at me and said, "Just tell the truth, Mark, and everything's going to be fine." So, yeah, I'm very disappointed in Russ Helixson.
And has he walked that back, or is he still maintaining that he was pressured?
Well, to provide some more detailed, Ariel, we came forward in March of 2018, and July 3rd, literally July 3rd, 2018. NBC News, Corky at NBC News did a story called Jordan, and it was the second time that Jordan had been asked whether he knew or didn't know. And his comment, he had no idea. He had no knowledge of sexual abuse. And if I did know about sexual abuse, I would have done something about it. He's playing semantics. The reality is none of us called it sexual abuse at the time, but certainly he knew that Strauss was doing unnecessary genital exams, prostate exams. He knew. Everyone knew. He knew he was taking showers twice a day. He knew he was. Everyone knew.
He would position himself at the weigh-ins, he would position himself right by the scale every
This is
time.
Strauss.
That was his fun time.
So back to Jordan, it goes, so that was July of 2018. Literally the next day, July 4th, the fireworks literally went off. Every major outlet from CNN to, I mean, it was overwhelming. And I'm sitting in the middle of it. He's sitting in the middle of it. Jordan denies. So it's us, you know, us versus him, me versus him. I'm telling, you know, here, the other thing about this era, Jim Jordan was my coach. I had tons of respect for this guy. And it was we were friends. I'd talk to Jim once a quarter up until 2018. And again, I can speculate on why he decided to.
I'm not sure why. Yeah, I don't understand why Jim denied it, and I'm confused. Tell me.
Well, even if you do deny it, okay. So this is one of the things that troubles our guys is okay. Say you did know, you're still Jim Jordan. You're still the guy that's in Washington D.C. You're still the guy that can say, yeah, I didn't know, but these are my guys. These are my guys. We got to take care of my guys. So this 28, Jim Jordan's never done that. He's never said to us, I'm sorry I missed it. Which, again, who are you?
Right.
Who are you? I mean, we trained with this dude. I mean, I was one of his training partners for almost 7, 8 years. I grew up. I mean, I knew Jim Jordan when I was 6 years old. I mean, you know, the Jordan family, the DiSabato family are two of the most prominent families in Ohio high school wrestling. I mean, we're inseparable. And again, politics, power, truth sometimes gets lost. And it's still, to this day, he's going to watch this documentary. He's got an opportunity to speak the truth. Again, you didn't know it was sexual abuse. No one said you knew it was sexual abuse. But to say you had no knowledge that Strauss was doing these exams, that the Larkins Hall environment was there, that was unacceptable to us.
Did Strauss also give out PEDs to athletes?
I had no personal knowledge, but there is, in John's story in 2020, Strauss was one of the foremost experts in performance-enhancing drugs. And you're talking revenue-producing athletic departments. You got to win, right? So there are accounts of athletes coming forward and saying there was steroid.
It's irrelevant. That's irrelevant to the whole case. He never brought it up to me. So he never brought steroids up to me. So
sure, it paints the picture of someone who maybe isn't the best of guys.
Well, Ariel, again, that's for other people to decide. I just know who this dude was to us,
right?
You know, and again, he ingratiated himself to not just to. Again, he fooled a lot of people. Larry Nassar fooled a lot of people. I mean, think about all the folks. Allie Reisman said it best. If one adult would have recognized that this dude was doing what he did, think of how many folks could have been saved.
Sure.
At Ohio State, we're talking thousands of exams.
These parents knew in gymnastics, but they knew if they spoke up, it's over for their kid.
Right. He leaves the school in the late 90s, right? Dr. Strauss?
Strauss, 98. He was there from 78 to 98.
Why does he leave?
Well, there was some friction in 95. There was starting to be some pushback within the athlete community and within the athletic department. There were some reports coming. There was actually one of the folks in the documentary was a student, just a typical student who brought forward a complaint, a very credible complaint that got to the Strauss's boss. The medical board of the state of Ohio got involved. Actually, Strauss had contacted the medical board to say that he was being singled out and being mistreated because it was starting to the testimony was starting to gather up on him. And so, yeah, he left in 1998, and amongst there was several investigations, secret investigations, and he left. He actually left. They gave him, even though they found him to be, they took all power away from him. They still gave him Emetria status when he left. So it was like, Ariel, I mean,
they just kind of wanted him to
just-
go away and
it
like,
just-
don't
it's-
create this thing. He ends up committing suicide in 2005.
yeah.
Why?
No one knows. I mean, you can speculate. I mean,
You think he knew this
they
was
said,
coming?
Well,
Nobody knew
no
it
one
was
knew.
coming. If it
No
weren't
one.
for me and him, it wasn't ever coming.
So why do you think he committed suicide then?
Well, they said he was in pain at the time, and I mean, if you're a doctor, I mean,
You think
listen,
it's
mental
unrelated?
health- mental health,
Yeah,
Ariel. I mean,
yeah.
who knows?
Do you remember hearing about his death when it happened?
No,
You didn't know?
I didn't really find out until
It wasn't related, I'm sure.
No, but just like I
didn't know
was
that
just
was
curious
coming.
what you felt when you heard that he had done that to himself.
I really didn't.
It wasn't a big deal. We didn't hear it.
I didn't hear much about it when it happened. Now, when we came forward, when we recognized it was sexual abuse,
Sure.
and then it was like, okay, where's this
Where's
dude
this
at?
guy? Yeah.
Where's he at?
What did that feel like when you found out that he's not here, that he won't face the music? Nasser faced the music, right?
Ariel, part of me is more upset with. One of the victims said to me, which I think is telling. Strauss, yeah, we're survivors of Strauss, but we're almost what's happened since Strauss. That's been more disappointing than actually in my personal situation. The trauma the trauma that's come after coming forward was a hell of a lot worse than the trauma of actually dealing with him.
Yeah, when Jim Jordan came out and denied everything, the whole case just turned into whose side are you on? Mark Coleman and Mike DiSabato side, or you're on Jim Jordan's side? And Russ Hellickson immediately, that's his best friend, had to protect him. He came back and took back everything he said he was pressured into saying it. And a bunch of wrestlers that we knew, they took Jim Jordan's side. They were calling us liars.
It got political.
All this shit. And well, then as the case went on, a lot of these guys that were talking shit about us, well, they decide they're going to jump in the lawsuit. So all of a sudden, they didn't know nothing about it either, but now they're in the lawsuit. So everybody looks pretty silly.
Sure.
Russ Hellickson looks extremely silly. I mean, he looks foolish. He should come clean.
There's a line in the documentary. I saw the trailer. It looks great. Again, it comes out June 17th. I believe the line was, I'm a victim of Dr. Strauss, but I survived Ohio State. And I mean, that gives you chills just listening to it.
I survived Ohio State, or I survived Strauss, but I'm a victim of Ohio State.
Yeah.
And,
Got it.
And again, like I said, the trauma of going through it with Strauss. I first met him when I was 14. He did body fat tests. So, and he wanted to see our testicles at 14 years old. And this was one of the most prominent wrestling teams in the state of Ohio. So he was always around the wrestling community, and he had to ingratiate himself, and people trusted him. But yes, when you look at this, the last 7 years have been, yes, not so fun.
And you got correct me if I'm wrong. The school has offered settlements, right?
So there was a package. There was a group of us that partially settled in 2020. When I say partially settled, I mean there was $60 million that was paid to survivors, most of which have a most favored nations clause in their contract, which means, or their settlement, which means that if the folks that follow them or that are still in the case settle for a higher per person average, those of us that partially settled will get another settlement check. So I'm settled, but I'm not settled. And until it all settles with all our guys, it's just there's no closure. There's no closure. We got guys that, they're our guys, Ariel.
So how is it decided who partially settled and who is still ongoing?
It's up to you. I haven't settled.
Okay, you haven't gotten a dime.
No, I'm not settling, and I'm going to keep fighting.
What do you
Case
want?
got thrown out. It was like horrible. They threw it out, but thankfully they brought it back. So it was almost a dead case. But
It went all the way
man.
to the Supreme
I'm
Court.
a fighter. I'm not gonna quit. They offered whatever 150,000.
Yeah,
I think the average was 200,
I want paid. I'm not
220,000.
gonna deny it. I want paid for what happened.
Yeah. I mean, the only way you hold power accountable is you hit them in the pocketbook.
right.
I mean,
So where
that's-
does it stand right now?
Well, it's the depositions are going to start this month. It's actually started at the timing of the documentary. Actually, is in line with depositions that are taking place. I think Jim Jordan's been served.
Wow.
That's coming. Russ Ellickson is. I mean, the university has kicked the can on this for 7 years.
Supreme Court?
It went to the Supreme Court at one point, and the Supreme Court ruled with us. They said, these guys they were fighting over statute of limitations, and
That was big.
it was you didn't come. We did a good job hiding this,
Yeah.
and so now you can't come forward, and so the lawyers in our case fought on statute of limitations and won. It did go all the way to the Supreme Court at one point, and so there's still now there's been what they call bellwethers that have been chosen. There's 20 guys that'll go through depositions and all the chaos that comes with getting ready for trial. The first trial, if it's not settled, will go down next October, and but you're going to see a hell of a lot more news about it with the documentary release and then depositions of very high profile folks within the university community.
So as you have to sit here and talk about this, you're about to see this documentary. I know you've seen it already, but it's
I didn't see it yet.
Oh, you haven't seen it? Okay, I think you saw it.
We had a screening last night. Mark was not able to attend. He was in
But
Stillwater.
how are you handling all of this, Mark? I mean, this is not fun to talk about, to put it
I
mildly.
just go with it, man. You got to deal with stuff. I just learned to deal with things. I'm dealing with it. And I'm just super proud because I know how many people I've helped do it coming forward like this. This is a big deal. It wasn't easy for me to come forward, but I decided to do it.
Was this, as you're growing in your career post Ohio State, was this always in the back of your mind? Did you always want or think that you were going to eventually talk about it, or is it only after seeing the Michigan State story that, had you suppressed it to the point where it wasn't, top of mind anymore?
Yeah, I definitely suppressed it and then brought it back up with the Michigan State deal, and it just never clicked to me because we just didn't think male on male. It wasn't ever a thing.
Sure.
We just didn't think it was possible. And what do you mean you let this guy do this, Coleman? Why didn't you just smash him? Well, that ain't how it works, idiots. And neither would you smash him. So shut the fuck up.
I had read, and again, correct me if I'm inaccurate here. At times, you would get very angry, and this was sort of your way of dealing with it, but maybe unknowingly while you were a student.
Yeah, like before every practice, I'd go into the restroom and do my daily routine in there. But usually there was always a guy sitting right beside you, and you knew he was one of them because his pants would be all the way down to his ankles, and they'd have peepholes in the walls
Really?
to look through and stuff.
Ariel,
So
yeah.
I'd get it.
Yeah.
I would do it. I would walk back into the restroom and I'd cause a big scene. I thought I was just getting myself fired up for practice. Russ would come over, put his arm around me, say, "Yeah, just calm down. We're taking care of it. It's all going to be taken care of." But
Our coach, to his credit, Russ Ellickson,
Yeah.
went multiple times to university officials and said, "Listen, this is not right. Strauss is doing stuff that he shouldn't be doing,
Wow.
and this environment at Arkansas it's toxic. I mean, I can't. It's hard for people to wrap their minds around it unless you were there." And just imagine you're coming down from practice. You got to go take a shower, and I call it the gauntlet of sexual deviancy. You're walking into a shower, into a sauna, and every day there's going to be multiple dudes there that are there to watch you take a shower, to watch you take a sauna.
Crazy.
And they're performing on multiple situations, performing sex acts. I mean, you got dudes masturbating in a. At one point, there's testimony. Russ tells a story of a guy in a shower or in a toilet stall that was adjacent to the shower, and Hellickson, he walks in. This dude is literally peeping over the top, masturbating. Hellickson pulls the door open, grabs the guy by his wrist, pulls him out. He said his testimony is almost squeezed his. I mean, Russ is a big man.
Yeah.
Almost squeezed his almost took his hand off, basically. I was squeezing it so hard that the anger of having to deal with this, the rage of having to be in this kind of environment, the rage of having a doctor, every time you went down to see him, wanted to see your genitals. Every time. I busted my knuckle one time in the middle of practice. And I went downstairs to have someone pop it in place. He wanted to see my genitals.
Jeez.
I'm like, dude, enough. I went back up. But again, if you had a sore throat, you had, whatever it was, he had a reason, and it was always thorough evaluation.
I was, I remember, one day, it's a Saturday, it was the off season, so I was in there by myself training because guys was in the off season, but I've been taking a shower afterwards, and I turn around and there's a pretty big guy standing across there, 6'2", 225, and he's just staring right at me, playing with himself, staring at me, and I'm finally I said, "What the fuck you looking at, dude?" He said, "What are you looking at?" I said, "Just take your shower and get the fuck out of here." And he said, "I'm gonna take my shower. I'm gonna get my gun and come back in and shoot your ass." And I got the hell out of there. So,
jeez. And these people work for the school or attend the school?
Well,
just a student. Probably.
Well, you had to be, in order to get in the building, you had to be either a student or an administrator, professor. So
yeah.
So we're talking about, and again, this is open knowledge. If you had to be blind if you didn't know that this was going on. Jim Jordan.
Yeah.
You didn't know. You took a shower with us every day. You went in the sauna with us every day. I mean, literally, you go in the sauna, you got 4 or 5 dudes sitting on the top sauna.
Yeah.
I just don't
Here
know.
I am.
Yeah.
I just don't know why Jim gave you the answer he did. I'm trying to figure out why he didn't just tell the truth.
Have you guys talked to him?
It's been
He harassed some people. He harassed my mom and dad. He harassed people to call me and tell me to back off.
that was so go back to July 3rd, 2018. So he comes at NBC News says Jordan knew or denies. I say no, sorry. I mean, I love Jim Jordan. He's my coach. This was my statement. But you can't say you can't keep doing this. You can't say that you didn't know. You knew.
Why did he do it, Mike? Why did he just deny
well,
it?
it's political. I think he made a decision that that truth wasn't necessary. And again, I can speculate. It's hard again, Ariel. It's hard for someone to say I knew. You knew that this doc was doing unnecessary genital exams, and you did nothing. You didn't smack him. You didn't do this, that, and the other. It's hard for. I'm not judging, other than saying
he had to sign off for you. You couldn't compete without this guy, so he had.
Did you guys ever tell your parents, by the way?
No,
well,
hell no,
I can tell you that my brothers, when they'd come home, like they were old. I had older brothers that were varsity.
9 of you?
There's 9 in my family, 6 boys, 3 girls. All 6 of us wrestled D1. 5 of my brothers wrestled at Ohio State.
Wow.
I'm proud of the fact that we hold the Ohio State record for varsity O's in one family, 36 total varsity O's. So Ariel, I knew this. I mean, this is my school.
Right.
I bleed scarlet and gray. I wear this jacket today. Yeah.
Did your brothers ever experience this?
So they would come home on like a Saturday.
Yeah.
My mom, Italian mom, cooking for the 4 or 5 guys that my brothers would bring back, and there was jokes, Strauss, jelly hands. Guy loves to see your genitals. There was just conversation.
Yeah.
It was not. It was an open
Wow.
secret. But again, we didn't know how to deal with it. None of us, parents, administrators. It just was. So when we come forward in 2018, I wasn't looking to say, oh, you knew, you did nothing. We just wanted to say this happened. In order to make progress, you got to be truthful of history. You can't make progress without saying this went down, right? And so I wasn't out here to get Jim Jordan. In fact, I went to Jim Jordan and Russ Hellickson before I went to Ohio State. I said, listen, I remember the conversation like it was yesterday. We spoke for like 30, 45 minutes. And I said, Jim, this is what I'm doing. He's my coach. I respect you. Before I do this, I want you to know what's going down. I know I'm not pointing the finger. You didn't do anything wrong. In fact, Jim was 24, 25 years old. He's not the guy that's going to, make a decision to get rid of Strauss. Hellickson was making comments that was telling the university administrators that this was going down, and they didn't handle it correctly. But again, it's 2018. We're coming forward. We know this happened to thousands of kids, and it's not okay for you to say it didn't happen, period.
Do you guys think that it still happens?
Well, yeah. I mean, at Ohio State, no, but yeah, it's still happening. These lawsuits are coming out. It's right. There's going to be a lot more.
You think there are student athletes right now who are dealing with the same? Like, I can't even fathom being,
I saw today the podcaster Alex Cooper. I mean, she's talking about her experience with being sexually harassed as a student. Ariel, it's an epidemic within our society in general. I mean, youth athletics. I mean, come on, you see story after story after story of this. The Catholic Church. Anytime you have access to kids, it happens. Tim Tebow. I saw something about a week ago. He's very passionate about sex trafficking and sexual abuse, and he showed a document or 100,000 plus websites.
With IP addresses.
IP addresses. Yep. Thank you. Of people downloading child porn, 12 and under.
Horrific.
So, really?
Yeah.
And so, for me, when I saw this happen, when I saw it for myself, when we're sitting there talking about, again, the gymnast, it was identical testimony. The same grooming, the same situation. You gotta scream. If you don't scream, who are you? This guy, I'm proud of us. Like I said, this ain't fun.
No.
I mean, we've seen each other. We've had fun in the past, right? Congratulations, by the way, and thanks for having us.
Of course,
this is not easy.
No,
and there's a lot of folks that don't want to.
I'm happy you got that band lifted, brother. It's pretty cool.
What's that?
You got your band lifted.
Oh yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good.
I know.
I'm just doing my thing here. No, but I mean, it's heartbreaking. Truly, it's heartbreaking to read this. It's heartbreaking to think.
I didn't know you had that meeting with Russ and Jimmy beforehand. How did that go? What did they say to you?
Yeah, well, I met Russ in February. I think it was February, and Russ was supportive. And Russ was supportive from February. I went to him. I said, Russ, this is going down. In June, he sat down and did a testimony for us that's on the record. It's in the public domain.
He got right to the point.
That was June.
He told the truth.
He told the truth. But then the Jordan thing came down 2-3 weeks later. Russ already had his testimony in place, and Jordan and him were tight, real tight. Like I said, like a son. I mean, we're all sons to Russ, but Jimmy and Russ were very tight. They were inseparable. We called them Batman and Robin. I mean, it was that kind of relationship. So when Jim denied, Russ went to his aid, and there was the semantics game. Ariel, there was we knew nothing about sex abuse. Again, none of us said sex abuse back then, but you did know the guy was playing with genitals unnecessarily, and you did know he was doing rectal exams, and you did know he was showing up in the locker room taking showers. He was taking showers too with us, then going to gymnastics. He was taking 7-8 showers a day.
Ultimately, nothing will be able to be done to repair all of this, but what are you hoping happens? How does the story end?
It's happening. the awareness.
The movie's coming out, which is going to be huge.
There's been blow it up. It's going to end this stuff. 10
on the first go round was 200,000, and again, the only reason it's 200,000 is because guys like me that accepted a settlement have a most favored nations clause. So Ohio State's strategy, when I look at it, I see, they got these guys settled, and our hope was the other guys were going to be hopefully not far behind us. That was 2020. 7 years later, here we are, and it's still not settled. And again, I'm out of the day-to-day of it, but my guys are, suffering. There's guys that have had a very tough time with this, Ariel. Very tough time, as you can imagine, myself included.
Sure, I can't.
He's a master. I mean, it's a game to them. He knows who he can go further and further with. I wasn't just going to sit there and get bullied, so I didn't. But a lot of my teammates,
right?
Ariel,
so
this is something 147 instances of rape. So we're not talking just genital exams and rectal exams. We're talking drugging. Several folks have been. They were.
He'd invite guys over to his house. Guys would go over to his house all the time.
Oh, like if you need to see him over the weekend, like you have something, you have herpes pop, skin rashes or something pops up, it's sore throat, you need tetracycline, whatever it may be, you needed something on the weekend, come to his house. Thankfully, I never visited, but there were a lot of guys that did.
He was a photographer too, so he took a lot of pictures.
This documentary is going to blow your mind. It blew, again, I can't say.
As a documentary at Tribeca, like that's a celebration of your life, and I know this is going to be met with mixed feelings and emotions. But you guys are your role models, your heroes, and you're very strong. And so, well done, well done. And by the way, Ryan Bader looks great as you.
Yeah, man.
He looks great.
Yeah, he could have got a little more cut up.
Okay, oh wow. It was weird when I saw the photo and I was like, what's different about Ryan Bader? And then I noticed that they took all the tattoos away.
Yeah.
So it was jarring at first. There you guys are. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
He looks pretty damn good.
He assured me that, he said The Rock did a good job.
Yeah.
But he assured me that he made me look like a savage killer, which
as you were.
I wanted.
And shout out to Mark Kerr getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. How about that? What a time!
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Much deserved.
So much. Thank you so much. I know this was not easy, but an honor to have you both here in studio, and I wish you the best. And
Ariel, thanks so much, my friend.
For sure.
You've been great.
This is huge for the awareness of this.
Yes, absolutely. So good luck. Keep us posted. Keep fighting the good fight, and we're all behind you. Thanks for watching this video. Before you go, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button for us. Also, give us a thumbs up, leave a nice comment. These things go a long way. And while you're here, do check out the rest of the channel. We've got live shows and full interviews, clips, and a whole lot more. We're doing big things here, and we appreciate your support very much.